So today we're going over drywall do's and don'ts and some of my favorite drywall tips here at Well Construction. I would like to start off with the corners. This might seem like kind of novice, but never do your corners when you're mudding, never mud both corners at the same time. I know they sell the tool that does both corners at the same time, but the professional drywallers I've been around, they have always done one side and then came back when that side has dried, and then they'll hit the other side. And you do that because if you try to do both at the same time, when you go to pull the tape so you can get a nice smooth finish, you'll end up messing up the other side. So that's tip number one. So for tip number two, when you go to mix your Durabond mud, your 45, your 90 minute, never put the water in the mud pan and then put the Durabond in the mud pan after the water, and then try to stir it up with your knife, because it's just going to allow for clumps to build up and things will never get, the mud will never get smooth how it needs to be before applying it. You should use, these are some of my ones I use. This is for, a regular 5-gallon bucket, and you can use something like this for a small bucket where this won't fit inside. So these can be bought at Home Depot. This one's probably like $15. This one's probably like another $15. This one might be like 20 something. So always mix it up, and whenever you're mixing your +3, your Durabond, whatever you use topping, always mix it up with, some type of actual paint or drywall mixer. So another tool that I really love and people have actually made fun of me for using is this drywall or mud scooper. So when you have your 5-gallon bucket, you can try with a 3-inch or 4-inch knife or 6-inch even, and scoop up your mud and put it in your mud pan. But I have come to find that this drywall scooper that you can get at Home Depot for probably, I think it's like $10, $12. Where you scoop the the mud from the 5-gallon bucket, is much more helpful than using a 6-inch knife or any type of knife. So this is something that I always take with me on the job, and I always have it with me. So tip number 4, always, if at all possible, if you have a good duration of time to complete the job, you didn't cram a job in, or you just have a good time span to complete a job, always use +3. This is this bucket of mud right here. +3, just, it's ready out the box. I put a little bit of water in it and, mix it around before every use. With that being said, compared to this Durabond joint compound, if you have to finish the job in a hurry, you can use 20 minute, 45, and 90. But I strongly suggest, if you have time, to just go ahead and use +3, Proform, or even topping if your job allows you to do so. Because this will clump up. It's harder to get the perfect mixture. This is pretty much good out the box. And, it just causes for a smoother finish. It's easier to apply. But the only thing is, as you know, this will dry in 20 minutes, but this typically dries in 8 hours. So if you have time on the job, I strongly advise that you tape and put each level of mud on +3 if you can. But definitely always use it for your finish coat though. Try not to ever use any Durabond Easy Sand or Durabond in the brown bag for a finish coat. So for tip number 5, this one is going to be for using a 10 or 12-inch or even a 6-inch knife on a ceiling seams. So right here, I would come across and hit the ceiling along the seam. And when I load my knife, the mud stretches from this side of the 10-inch knife all the way to that side. So with that being said, I load it up. And then these corners right here, drywall or mud will tend to fall off and get on floor or even get on my face or clothes. So with that being said, you load your knife up to avoid that, and then hit the corner of the mud, hit this corner of the mud. Then go ahead and apply your mud on the ceiling so it prevents any mud from falling down. And that's a pain in the butt a lot of the times when you're in an awkward position and you're reaching up on a ladder or anything, and you got mud flying all over the place. So it's just better to get in a good habit of wiping the corners of your knife whenever you're reaching above your head. So when you're loading your pan or hawk up, try to only do one, two, three, 2 to 3 scoops, or even 4, depending on if you're skim coating or you're applying a lot on a butt joint or something. Because when you're doing nail holes, for instance, and you load your tray up with 4 scoops and you have all these nail holes to hit, holding 4 scoops of mud in here gets heavy after a while, especially if you're on a ladder or stills or getting in all these awkward positions. So try to only load the pan up with as much mud as you actually need for the application you're doing. So lastly, this is very important. This is extremely important. Always make sure your knives, your mud pans, your hawk, your trowel, your buckets, and even your mixers are all as clean as possible. Because when you go to mud, and especially on finish coats, and you're applying your finish coat on a seam or wherever on the drywall, and you end up with a little bit of debris or dirt in that drywall, it'll leave a streak along the whole pull or swipe that you do with against the mud. So it is very, very important to always make sure that your knives, your pans, your buckets, anything that has to touch the mud is clean and free of debris or old mud.